friends, welcome to a new video. Look, today I bring you a mystery box completely full of dinosaurs. But the best part is that the figures we have inside today are super soft, we can mold them, and we can also stretch them up to half a meter. You'll see how much fun it is. Also, we'll be using the Book of Dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals, as always, so we can learn a lot of new things about all of them. And now, friends, let's open our mystery box, which I can already tell is pretty heavy. Let's see. Wow, friends, look, we have a bunch of dinosaurs. The box was really heavy because the inside of the figures is completely filled with magic sand or kinetic sand, which, as you know, is moldable, so we can squish them, mold them, and stretch them. Let's take them all out to learn their names and some of their features. And as it couldn't be any other way, the first one to come out is the great Tyrannosaurus rex, a carnivorous dinosaur that has been one of the greatest predators that has ever existed. Also, the best part is that the T-Rex comes in 3 different colors, which I love, because that way we can have great battles between them. We have it in blue, in green, and also another one in red. A big herd of Tyrannosaurus rex? Wow, it looks like a 3-headed dinosaur. The best part, friends, is that we can stretch it. Let's go, voila, friends. I love it. Now it looks like a long-necked dinosaur. We can also make it much wider. The best part is that even if we deform it, in the end we can always put it back in its original shape. It will always regain its shape. We can also have fun throwing them, voila, especially if we're outdoors. We can use them to see who can throw them the farthest. And are we going to say something about the T-Rex? As you know, its skull was huge. It could reach more than 1.5 meters in length, and its jaw was made up of 60 teeth in total. Some of them could measure more than 20 centimeters. In addition, it was a bipedal dinosaur that walked on its hind legs, and its tail was very large and robust. It was necessary to maintain balance, since its head was so heavy that if it didn't have a very heavy tail, our T-Rex would fall forward because of the super cool weight. Let's leave these first 3 big carnivores here for now. And now let's bring out a herbivorous dinosaur, like, for example, the great Ankylosaurus. Voila! It's super relaxing to squish it. Let's make this Ankylosaurus's body much wider. As you know, the Ankylosaurus was also called the armored dinosaur, or the armadillo of the Cretaceous. This is because the top part of its body was super hard and thick, and it was completely covered in spikes. Also, something very characteristic about it was its big tail. It was very long, and had a ball or club at the tip, which it used to swing from side to side to defend itself from predators that tried to attack it. Also, it was quadrupedal. It walked on all 4 legs, and on its head, it also had large spikes that it used for defense. Let's see, because I think we have another Ankylosaurus, in a different color. Yes, friends, here it is. They are similar, but they are not the same, since this new Ankylosaurus is orange on the top and green on the bottom. In the book, we have information about the Ankylosaurus and also about the Dilophosaurus, which was a very similar dinosaur, but the difference was that the Dilophosaurus didn't have the big ball or club at the tip. The one that did have it was the great Ankylosaurus. The dino facts tell us that it could reach about 11 meters in length, and its name means fused lizard. Obviously, it was a herbivorous dinosaur that fed on plants, leaves, grass, and even roots. We'll leave our Ankylosaurus here, and we're going to launch the other one, then we'll continue with another carnivorous dinosaur. For example, the great Spinosaurus. This time it comes in electric blue, one of my favorite colors. As you can see, the Spinosaurus was characterized by the large crest of spines it had on the top of its body. Also, it was bipedal. It walked on its hind legs, which were very large and robust. It also had a long tail, and its front legs were smaller than the hind ones. It also had a large jaw, which was quite long. In this figure, you can barely see it, but its jaw was quite wide and long, very similar to that of modern crocodiles. The Spinosaurus was also called the sail dinosaur because it loved to dive into the water, especially to look for food, since it loved to eat fish. Let's see if we have another Spinosaurus in a different color. Yes, friends, look, we can have a great battle with these two Spinosauruses, one in green and the other in blue. The green one is also super cool. Let's crush what would be its skull to leave it completely deformed, and let's also widen the central part of its body. Look, it barely looks like a Spinosaurus, right? And now, let's stretch it from right to left. Wow! Impressive! Super cool, right? Look at what it looks like. 1, 2, and 3. Over there is our Spinosaurus. We'll leave the other one here next to the big Tyrannosaurus Rex. And now we'll continue with a herbivorous dinosaur. We have a super famous one. It's the great Stegosaurus, known for the large bony plates it had all over its body. They were divided into 2 large rows, being much bigger in the upper central part. In addition, it also had a tail with 4 large spikes at the tip. Just like the Ankylosaurus, it used it defensively, swinging it from side to side to protect itself from predators. It was also a quadrupedal dinosaur that could reach about 9 meters in length. Another interesting fact is that its head was very small compared to the rest of its body. Look, the eye comes in yellow, and at the front of the mouth we can see this strong beak, which it also used to dig in the ground and eat roots. At the top we can see its nostrils. In the book, we also have information about the Stegosaurus. It tells us that its name means roofed lizard, and that it lived during the late Jurassic period. Here we can see 3 illustrations with 3 specimens of Stegosaurus. Also, its hind legs were larger and more robust than its front legs. And as you can see here in this photograph, it used them to lift the upper part of its body, and that way, for example, it could reach the leaves of the trees to eat them. And I'm going to show you the previous page, because look who we have here. It's the great Kentrosaurus. It was a dinosaur that looked a lot like the Stegosaurus, but we can find some differences. Instead of bony plates, it had a bunch of sharp spikes from the middle of its body all the way to the end of its tail. So, as you can see, its body was practically the same. But instead of having so many bony plates, it had some bony plates at the front, and the rest were all spikes, to be able to defend itself more effectively from predators. Also, they were much larger than the Stegosaurus, since it tells us that it could reach up to 20 meters in length. Impressive. Let's continue with another one. And over here, I can already see the skull of a large carnivorous dinosaur, and it also comes in 2 different colors. As you can see, this is the great Dilophosaurus, a carnivorous dinosaur that was characterized by the crests on its head, which are very similar to a rooster's comb. Let's take a look at the green one. The Dilophosaurus could reach a height of about 2 meters. Also, its jaw was really big, with lots of sharp teeth. The sides of its skull were flattened, which made its head lighter and allowed it to run faster. Its front legs were also much smaller than its back legs, and it used them to help itself. When eating, it would grab the meat with its front hands and bring it to its jaw to chew it. And everything was better that way. Let's stretch it out and look how weird it looks. It seems like a mutant lizard. What do you all think? Let's also try to squash part of its face. It looks super strange. And that's the most fun thing about these figures, that with our imagination we can create different dinosaurs, mutant dinosaurs with different shapes and sizes. This is what the original would look like, and this is how our mutated Dilophosaurus turned out. Voila! Super cool, guys! Let's check out some information about the Dilophosaurus in the book. We have an awesome illustration of the Dilophosaurus. It's right here. It also tells us that it could reach about 6 meters in length, from the tip of its mouth to the end of its tail. And its name means lizard with 2 crests. It lived during the early Jurassic period. And now, friends, we've finished today's video. Here we have all the dinosaurs we've learned about. If you liked this video, you can help me by giving me a super like, a thumbs up, so I can keep making lots of videos for all of you. And now it's time to say goodbye. See you in the next video. More fun surprises. Goodbye. Subscribe. Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video where we are going to keep learning a lot of new things about animals. In today's video, we are going to talk about the animals that live in the ocean. For that, we are also going to use the Encyclopedia of Sea Animals. You already know, I love using these encyclopedias because inside we have very interesting information about all of them. For example, about the red star and the Antarctic jellyfish. It all comes with several illustrations and a lot of information, so let's open our box to see all the ones hidden inside. For now, we can already see a big sea turtle. Look, one detail about turtles is that they have this strong beak to help them find food. And now let's see what's hidden. Look, we have some soft figures, so let's take them all out to learn their names and some of their characteristics. Let's see which one comes out first. And it looks like we have a super predator of the ocean. It's a type of shark. There are many different species of sharks, but this time we have a tiger shark. We know this because of the darker stripes it has all over the top part of its body. Regarding its anatomy, we can see its large dorsal fin on the top, which is the most characteristic feature of the shark. We can also see the side fins and, above all, its strong tail, which it uses by moving it forcefully to swim at high speed. Also, I really like the figure because it's one of the soft ones. As you can see, we can squish it and stretch it. Inside, it has both air and Orbeez beads. And at the front, we can see its large jaw since it's a super predator. Let's look for more information in the book. On these pages, we find very interesting information about sharks in general. The most important thing is that it tells us that sharks, or the bodies of sharks, don't have any bones or spines. What they have are cartilages, which are harder or softer depending on the area where they are found.
Además, en este lado derecho
we have the shape of the jaw of different types of sharks. For example, on this lower side, we have the jaw of a tiger shark, which is the one we just learned about. As you can see, the jaw is huge and it's full of sharp teeth. So, let's leave our tiger shark aside to continue learning about new animals. And it looks like a dolphin is swimming out of our box. Dolphins are very intelligent animals. In fact, sometimes they can interact with humans. Also, they are very social animals, so they live in groups or pods. Their color is more of a dark gray, and we can see their tail, their dorsal fin, and their side fins. They are mammals, which means that their young are born from the mother's womb, and they breathe with lungs. That means they can't breathe underwater. On the contrary, they have to come up every so often to breathe oxygen. Therefore, inside their bodies they have lungs, just like humans, and their teeth are full of small, very sharp teeth. Let's see more information. In the book, we have a fantastic illustration where we can see how the organs of dolphins are arranged. It tells us that dolphins are a type of cetacean, just like whales. Therefore, in order to breathe, they have a small hole on the top of their head. Actually, these are their nostrils, which have merged into a single opening. Through it, they can breathe and take air into their lungs. And we keep discovering new animals. One of my favorite animals jumps out of our box. It's a seahorse. Obviously, it gets this name because of the shape of its body, since it closely resembles the shape of a horse. We can see the shape of its elongated mouth, and it also has a long tail that it can curl inward. The figure is also one of the soft ones. Seahorses usually live in coral reefs. However, nowadays there are fewer and fewer seahorses in the ocean due to the warming of the water caused by climate change. Therefore, it is very important that we take care of our planet so we can preserve all the species that live on it, such as, for example, seahorses and coral reefs. A curious fact about seahorses is that actually it's the male who carries all the babies. Through an opening in his belly, the female passes the seahorses to the male, and when the time comes, he starts to expel them. In a single time, he can expel hundreds of seahorses, all tiny, which will grow over time, if no predator eats them. Very interesting, and we keep discovering new animals. Here we have a jellyfish. There are many different species of jellyfish, and some of them are very poisonous. As you can see, they are characterized by having a rather large head and, above all, tentacles that are usually stinging, which means that if they touch us, they cause hives. That is, a stinging or itching sensation. It also has little balls inside its body, and we can stretch it. In the encyclopedia, we find information about a type of jellyfish, the Antarctic jellyfish, which is cold-blooded. Therefore, it lives in very cold waters, between 10 and -2 degrees Celsius. It tells us that its body has between 16 and 48 tentacles each, about 1.5 meters long.
Además nos dice,
and that it feeds on crustaceans, mollusks, and other types of jellyfish. Obviously, it lives in the Antarctic Ocean, and now we're going to bring out two animals that are very different from the previous ones. These are two marine reptiles that lived on planet Earth during the time of the dinosaurs. But instead of living on land, they lived in the water. These are the great Mosasaurus and the great Elasmosaurus, known for its long neck. Let's talk about both of them. As you can see, Mosasaurus had an impressive mouth. It was full of sharp teeth. But the most distinctive features were its 4 fins and its tail, which, as you can see, was quite long and allowed it to swim at great speed. It was a great predator of the ocean. On the other hand, we have another marine reptile that had a super long neck, just like giraffes do today. We also had this marine reptile at the bottom of the ocean. Its body was much more robust, although just its neck was almost as long as the rest of its body. It also had 4 fins and a long tail. Up close, we can appreciate the details of the figure, which is also soft and stretchable. It looks like the inside is filled with cork balls. Let's look for more information in the encyclopedia. These pages share information about both. Regarding the Elasmosaurus, look at what it was like. Its neck was very long, and it seemed we can also see that it had sharp teeth. In the Dino Facts, it tells us that its name means plate reptile, and it could reach an average length of about 14 meters. It lived at the end of the Cretaceous period. On the other hand, we have the Mosasaurus. As you can see, its jaw was much bigger. It fed on other marine animals, such as, for example, the Elasmosaurus as well. It attacked the weakest area it had, which was its long neck. So with its big jaw, it could eat almost anything. Mosasaurus means reptile of the Muse. It could reach an average length of between 3.5 meters and 9 meters. It also lived on planet Earth during the Cretaceous period, and we keep discovering animals. This time, we're going to learn about two tropical fish. On one hand, we have the surgeonfish, and on the other hand, the clownfish. Both are known for their striking colors and live in warm, tropical areas. Therefore, we can see that the surgeonfish is characterized by this deep blue or electric blue color. And this little tail? Its body is quite robust. On the other hand, we have the clownfish, which is very well known for starring in some Disney movies. The clownfish is also characterized by its yellow or orange color and by these white stripes that run across its entire body. The clownfish has rather large fins, and both are super colorful and very beautiful. I love them. Another one over here. We only have a few animals left to discover. We have another type of animal with tentacles that I really love. This time it's a squid. There are some squids that are gigantic. As you can see, this is the shape of its head, and it's characterized by its tentacles, which have lots of suckers on the underside. On these pages, we find information about the sperm whale and the giant squid. The illustration is wonderful. It also tells us that it can reach a length of about 18 meters and lives in the open sea at depths between 200 and 1,000 meters. It lives in all the seas of the world and is a type of mollusk. And now we have the last animal left. It's a leatherback turtle, a sea turtle. I love the illustration. It has a lot of details. As you know, sea turtles have a much flatter shell than land turtles, which, unlike sea turtles, have a very high shell. The fact that they have a very flat shell is to help them swim faster. In addition, they have 4 large flippers, with the front ones being much bigger than the back ones. The leatherback turtle is the largest one that exists. It can reach a length of about 2 meters when it becomes an adult. In addition, some can weigh up to 900 kilos. Impressive. In each clutch, it can lay about 100 eggs and can travel more than 10,000 kilometers a year. And now, if we're done with today's video, here we have all the sea animals we've learned about. If you liked this video, you can help me by giving me a super like, a thumbs up, and I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. And now, I say goodbye to you all. See you in the next video with more amazing animals. Goodbye.